I cannot abide just a dummy bitch character. But I cut out a lot from that vlog because a bitch was too chatty. Well, hello. Welcome back to my channel. Just Shauna here to talk about some friggin' books that I have read recently. I'm pretty sure I just wore this shirt when bulk filming recently, and I know I had my hair up in a ponytail. Can't be bothered, you know? I have a lot. I might break this up. I don't know. We'll see how long I fucking talk. One thing I do want to say, I posted on my community tab just the other day, a couple days ago from when I'm recording this. I don't actually know when this video will go up, but as always, down below in my description, I have like a link tree, and in the link tree is some places that I like to support when I can financially, places you can donate for various causes and things, and I have added to that the one from my community post the other day, aiding children and other, not just children, but aiding those who need medical care and food and things in Gaza specifically. So you can check that out. If you have thoughts and feelings that don't seem to align with mine in this regard, you can keep your arguments to yourself. So there's that, but I just wanted to let you guys know. And like I said, I always have that link tree down below with other stuff too. On to some of the books I have read recently. What is happening? Over here. Sorry, I just fell. I feel like my sleeves are doing that like puffed up thing. Go away, knock it off. Anyway, on to some of the books. The first one that I completed from this list, and this was the first one I completed in October, twas The Bitter Twins by Jen Williams, book 2 of the Winnowing Flame trilogy. I read The Ninth Reign in September and almost immediately picked this one up because I quite enjoyed Ninth Reign. I gave Ninth Reign 4.25 stars. I did not end up loving this one quite as much. I won't say plot stuff for this one, obviously, but Ninth Reign is sci fantasy for sure. Alien race that keeps coming back to this planet and trying to eradicate everyone there, basically. And it's very like weird, out there kind of alien race and how they are and what they're about and the creatures and things. And we have like a vampiric kind of race of creature too, who are human-like but are not quite human, and they have a tree god that basically has been like dead now for quite some time, since the last time this alien race bombarded and tried to wipe everyone out on this planet. They managed to stop the alien race, but in the process their tree god died, and they used to survive off of the sap from this tree that would give them kind of immortal life. Not immortal, but very, very, very long life. And it's gone now, but they learned that they can survive off of human blood. However, it also simultaneously is wiping them out because it gives them a disease called the Crimson Flux. So it's not exactly a win-win there. We have a couple of main characters that we are following. Vin, who's a human woman who's like middle-aged and kind of an explorer, scientist, adventurer. And then one of the, oh my God, what are they called? Eborans. Eborans, the vampiric type of people, who's this guy who is kind of a warrior, and he kind of is her bodyguard essentially. And then they meet a fell witch, a witch who can wield magic and do all kinds of stuff. And those are the three kind of main characters that we're following, essentially. Things ensue, shenanigans, adventures are had. And we continue on in this book with these adventures. Some shit really goes down at the end of the first book, and then this is like figuring all of that out, and what are we gonna do moving forward? And yeah, I didn't enjoy this one as much as the first one. And even though there's only one book left, I'm not going to continue. I'm going to DNF the series. I don't know. It's a very, very unique world. Very cool, unique world. My interest in what's going on, getting answers for things was piqued throughout both of these books. There's lots of mystery, and it was still a page turner. I was like, I want to know what's happening. It wasn't like I slogged through this or anything. Didn't have a bad time reading it. I did not hate this book. But there's just way too much about how the story is told that just doesn't work for me at all, really, in this book in particular. And I just don't want to read a whole other book that might end up feeling the way this one did. Without being spoilery, there's a character who I hate. She sucks so hard, and she has no integrity, and her choices just make no fucking sense for who she is as a character, and she just was fucking annoying to me. And not in a, like, I don't have to like every character, duh. Like, and sometimes it's fun to hate characters. You're like, oh, I hate this person. She just, like, irked me. She just was like, God, you're dumb. Just stupid. Just stupid. And I cannot abide just a dummy bitch character. And then I think my biggest thing is what I refer to as like constant non-answers and vague hand-wavy answers. Like we would have character A asking or demanding answers for something like, hey, I need an explanation for XYZ. What the fuck is going on here? And character B will just be like, wee woo wah wah, the sky might be turning green tomorrow. And you're like, what? What are you talking about? Like, they didn't literally say those words, but they just say some random shit, speak in riddles, completely ignore the question or the request for an explanation, like it didn't happen, and just change the subject. And character A just is like, huh, okay. There was one time, and I tabbed it, one time that I caught a character being like, that doesn't answer my question. And I was like, fucking thank you. Thank you. Because it was like, it happened over and over again. I don't mind that kind of thing if it happens like once or twice or here and there. Like that's a tactic that authors use. That is like a tool authors might use to kind of create added tension or ramp up like some mysterious character. But it was so repetitive for me. I started noticing it, and it was like pulling me out of the story because it started to feel like an overused tool, I guess. And a couple times I thought that there were characters behaving a little bit out of character. And then honestly, probably one of the biggest disconnects for me is just something to do with science fiction. This, like I said, it's sci-fantasy. There is a pretty heavy like sci-fi element to it with the Jarilia is what they're called. And I don't know if this is spoilery. It's regarding their like motivations. Okay, so I don't know if anyone like doesn't want to hear anything about this. Personally, I'm like, it's not really a spoiler because of my issue with it. But yeah, I'll put like a timestamp if I remember. They like, I guess it might just be too sci-fi because I know this is a thing that can be utilized in like sci-fi stuff. I was talking to Roger about it, and he referenced, I think the Predator movies, maybe? Was it the Predator movies? Or Alien. Maybe it was the Alien movies. But it's this thing where, like, this alien race, the Jarilia, have no, like, real purpose. Like, why do they want to come and just eradicate everyone on this planet? Just because. And, like, but then I'm like, and why do you keep trying with this one that's difficult? Go find another one. Like, why? And maybe that's answered in the third book. I don't think it is, because I asked Elle about this, because I was like, I'm not reading the third one. Can you, like, answer a couple of these questions? I don't think that there's any other explanation, but it's like, why do you keep trying on this planet? Because they've tried 9 times now, and it's like, for what reason? And I don't know, just like, I think I just need my villains to have some motivation, even if the motivation like doesn't make sense or is like crazy town, right? But like in this case, the Jarilia do all of this destruction. They carry out all of this destruction. And in my head, I'm like, to what end? They don't live lives. They don't have like a real like society or community and people doing shit and living life. Their sole purpose is devour, devour, devour. Go do it somewhere else. Devour, devour, devour. Find somewhere else to do it. Devour, devour, devour. And I'm like, for what? Just to exist? But like, for what? Like, the whole time I just kept being like, but for what? And it sticks in my craw, and it's just something I can't like get behind, I guess, or like care to like, I don't root for it. I don't understand. It's just my human brain, I guess, being like, I'm a curious person, and like I need answers for things. And this just doesn't have an answer. They just do it, 'cause. Again, for what? And just with the writing style, like, there's some, like, big emotional moments that I just felt nothing for. I guess there seems to be, like, a disconnect for me personally with the author's writing style, where I just don't... I really like the characters, but I think, too, in this one, I felt, like I said, some of the characters seemed, like, pretty different from in the first book. And, like, Vin, who's my favorite, wasn't in this one quite as much. Some of the charisma from the first book felt lost to me in this one, is what it kind of can boil down to. I originally was thinking 3.5, but honestly, like, my actual enjoyment of it, I think would be like a 3.25. I'm not mad that I read this. Like I said, I didn't have a terrible, bad time. It was still a page turner, but just there was enough elements that just really didn't work for me, where I'm like, I'm good. Did I talk about these already? I could have sworn I talked about these. I don't know. This one I picked up, though, and barely read. 9 While 9 by Stacia Moreno. I swear. Oh, I think it's from the Unhaul, because I'm unhauling it, because I DNF'd it. That's why I was talking about this. But yeah, I barely read it. It was like an indie book that I got at BookNet Fest a couple years ago. It's like new adult, paranormal, fae stuff, and I just wasn't vibing with the writing style, really. Like, the main character I didn't really care for already, and I was just kind of like, whatever. Ah, dang it, I forgot to send it to myself. I took screenshots, because I already unhauled this. It's gone, I'm pretty sure. Well, and I took all the tabs off anyway, even if they didn't take it. But I took pictures. They're on my phone, and that's what I'm recording with, and I didn't send it to myself. It's whatever. Bloodsucking Fiends by Christopher Moore. I read a Christopher Moore book eons ago, like in the early 2000s, and all I remember is like that it was funny, like the writing was like comical, and that I always was like, I want to check out more Christopher Moore. And I picked up this trilogy, and it's called A Love Story Trilogy. It's like vampires in our modern world and stuff. And I was finally like, let me pick this up. You know, it's October, Halloween, all that stuff, vampire times. So I picked it up, and this was published in 1995, and it shows. There were parts that were kind of funny. The writing is very comical, and there were parts that were, like, I found a little amusing, and like, that's a funny way of, like, saying that or writing that or whatever. But my God, the stereotypes, just incessant stereotyping. And from what I read like 70 pages or something like that. From what I read, there wasn't anything heinously offensive or like, oh my God, you wrote that? I can't believe we said that. There wasn't anything crazy like that, but just so many stereotypes. Women crying over a breakup into their pint of Ben & Jerry's ice cream, watching rom-coms and just crying to their girlfriends on the phone when this jerk guy cheats on them and they didn't even really like him anyways, but we have to get ice cream. Like, oh my God, shut up. And then, like, the women just being so petty and jealous of each other. And she also just, like, jumped from man to man all the time. And as a fellow serial relationship person, always being in relationships for most of my adult life, but, like, I always am in and maybe it's me, like, justifying it, but, like, I always would get into relationships just because I'm like, I love love, and, like, companionship is fun, and, like, why not give love another shot? I just always was willing to attempt another try at great, grand love, and, you know, many, many times failed horribly. But it was never because I, like, needed a man to, like, live off of. And that's what this chick in this book literally just, like, oh, we broke up. Where am I going to live? What am I going to do? I'm going to have to call my mom for more money for a down payment. Like, just so and she was like a grown-ass adult, so codependent on anyone and everyone around her. And, like, that's why she was always just jumping from dude to dude, because she needed a place to live and, like, all this bullshit. And I was just like, no, I cannot. And yeah, again, but then just stereotypes. And it was just all the time. And I was just like, I can't anymore. Like, I'm so done with this shit. Everyone is just such a fucking stereotype. And maybe that was the point. Maybe that was supposed to be funny. but I just found it fucking annoying. So I gave up, and I'm probably good on Christopher Moore. Again, maybe he's like trying to poke fun at all of this, but it doesn't come across that way. It comes across like he's just stereotyping everyone. Then I finished another book, though, last night at the Telegraph Club by Melinda Lowe. On my vlog, I talked about this one a little bit. I talked about it a lot more, but I cut out a lot from that vlog because a bitch was too chatty. This is historical fiction. It is sapphic. It is YA. We are following a Chinese-American girl. Her parents are Chinese immigrants. This is in the 1950s, so Red Scare times in San Francisco. And I really enjoyed it. I liked it quite a bit. I thought it was really sweet, but still touched on these more difficult topics of not only being, it was like very coming of age. She's in high school and kind of realizing that she perhaps has feelings that her other gal pals don't seem to have, and doesn't seem to be interested in the boys like her fellow gal pals at school seem to be, and kind of realizing maybe I'm a little different amidst her parents potentially getting like deported or their papers taken away, and like this tension in the city, this tension in Chinatown specifically in the city, and then the added tension just with queer people as well at the time within the queer community. And I liked kind of the intersection of all of that. I thought it was done well. Again, for like the audience and the age range it's for, I personally felt like it was all touched on enough and still maintained this very lovely, sweet, hopeful energy throughout the story. Definitely content warnings for, racial slurs of the time that was just how people referred to Chinese people and Asian people in general. And then some hate speech toward lesbians, but also just gays in general. Definitely homophobia here. Kind of like being outed a little bit to a degree. Kind of being forced to come out when not ready. So yeah, being outed. And I think that covers the major things, right? I'm pretty sure. But yeah, I quite enjoyed it. It's not one that I think I'll ever reread, just because the one element that I didn't quite love is we go back in time a few times. It's only like 5 chapters or something where we go back. Like one is like a year and a half ago or 2 years ago. One is like 11 years ago. One is like 20 some years ago. And these chapters are with either her mom or her dad or her aunt. And I just kind of didn't see the point of them all that much. I don't know if it was just to show more of the history, but we got a decent amount of the history from the main character's chapters in the present day in her life. So I don't know. They kind of like paused the pacing weirdly for me, and I kept waiting for something from the past to come up in the present, like, oh, that's why we were learning about that. Like for some big reveal to happen, and it didn't, and it wasn't like it didn't make me mad, or I don't think it was like a complete waste of time, but it just kind of left me being like, well, why were those there though? Like, I don't think they were necessary. But I ended up giving this one 4.25 stars. Definitely would recommend it if you are into kind of historical YA and certainly covering these kinds of topics and this intersectionality. I think it was very well done. And there is another book that's kind of a spin-off of this I think it's 2013, and it's following a descendant of one of these characters, I think. And it says that it like kind of, because the ending of this is pretty open-ended too, and it's this other book, I think, kind of closes some of those doors and like ties off a few things with a little bow that we don't get here. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. Also in that vlog, I talked about Ice and Ivy by J.D. Evans. This is book 4 of the Mages of the Wheel series. This is indie, self-published romance fantasy. And I've talked about this series many, many times because I really, really enjoy it. And I think it is such a good blend of romance and fantasy. It's political fantasy, mages with elemental magic, and the Sultana we meet in the first book. And each book follows like a coupling, a pairing. And the first book is following the Princess Sultana and Naime, and she is trying to complete this circle with mages of the wheel. Each like mage house has what they call a chara, I think is how it's pronounced, who's kind of like the big cojones of that like house. They have like the most powerful, I think. It's like some special thing in their world. I need to reread the other books because it's been a while and I've forgotten a lot. But yeah, each book is following a different pairing, and I really liked the pairing here. They're dynamic together. They're so sweet. Oh my God, the main female character is new to us in this one. The guy is actually the cousin of the Sultana, so we have seen him since the first book. He's just now getting his own little story and his own little romance. But the girl, Nesrin, she's new. And I love her. Oh my God. She is such like a good blend. Like her personality, she is so kind and compassionate and sweet and just giving and loving and like gentle. But at the same time is a spitfire and will speak her piece and give her opinion and stick up for others and put herself in danger for others to protect others. Like she's such a good blend of that. Because I feel like a lot of times you kind of get like one or the other. Like the spitfire who's opinionated is also a little like sassy all the time and like maybe a little rough around the edges or like kind of hardened. And then you have the like super sweet, timid little baby angel who's just like so gentle and like, oh, like kind of a doormat or whatever. And she is just such a good blend of these two things. I really, really liked her a lot. Isan, the guy, he kind of annoys me a little bit occasionally, at least towards the beginning, because he's just like, I'm damaged. I'm no good for anybody. He's that guy. She's like, I'm so damaged. I'm going to push everyone away before I hurt them, because obviously I'll hurt them because I'm damaged goods. It's like, sir, shut the fuck up. He was a little bit like, okay, whatever. But overall, I really, really enjoyed this, and I gave this 4 stars. Then one more DNF, Fledgling by Octavia E. Butler. I talked about starting this in the vlog. Ingrid and I were going to buddy read it, but I was like, you know, I think I'm okay. And I think it's just that Octavia E. Butler's writing style, I think just isn't really my favorite. I didn't hate what I read by any means, and I read like 100 pages at least. Yeah, a little over 100 pages. And I could have easily finished it because I was reading through it pretty quickly. And I've read Octavia E. Butler before. I've read Wild Seed and then the like Dawn, Imago, Adulthood Rights. Can't remember the name of that trilogy. That one's way more sci-fi, and Wild Seed is even a bit more sci-fi as well. And I think that in those, I didn't notice it quite as much, the writing style. And maybe it was a little bit different, but I think it's just that I didn't notice it, especially the trilogy, because it was like so sci-fi and like out there that I think I was distracted with like paying attention, like what's happening in this world and their culture and what are we doing? That maybe I didn't notice the writing style. And here I did, because it's like vampires in our modern world, in our more modern world. And the writing was just kind of like really dry to me. And I felt like a disconnect with everything going on. And it felt like a little too like scientific, clinical, maybe, I guess. Like I didn't feel engaged or connected with the characters or what was going on. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? And I was just a little bit bored also. So I just was like, you know, I think it's just not for me. I recognize Octavia E. Butler is a genius, or was a genius, excuse me. And like the themes we're talking about here, I get all of that. I also, though, like I am of the camp of, and I haven't like read any interviews or like seen any explanation of it, but the vampire is 53 years old, but looks like a 10 or 11-year-old prepubescent girl and has sexual relations with adult humans. And it's a weird thing. There's like the whole conversation of consent, because it's like nobody that I saw anyways had any, like they didn't seem to be people who were pedophiles. They didn't seem to be attracted to her because she was a prepubescent child body. It was once she bit them like her venom for survival reasons gets these people brainwashed where they just want her. And like, not because she's a child, but just because she bit them and now they're just like, I have to have you. Oh my God. And it's like this whole conversation again of like survival. She needs to be able to feed off of them without it being a fight and without having to like kill them. It's like a symbiotic relationship type of thing. So it's like, I get it, but also why did she have to be like a teeny child body and reading those scenes? You know, forewarning, content warning, if that would be something that like would trigger you, because it's not like super, super graphic, but any mention of physical it was like ick. It wasn't a lot, like I said, but I could very easily see it being genuinely triggering if that's triggering for you. So yeah, that was one thing too where I was like, why though? Why did we have to do that? And I mean, I was uncomfortable, and I think you were supposed to be uncomfortable, obviously. She was leaning into that. At any rate, a genius, I'm sure. I'm here for the thematic elements, but I was just a little bored. Felt like the writing was a little too like dry and clinical for me. And then also in the vlog, you saw me start The Diviners by Libba Bray. And my God, why did I wait so long to fucking read this? I've said it many times now in a couple different videos that Andrew from Andrew Annotates gets the thanks for finally pushing me to pick this up, because he made the connection for me. I was talking about City of Girls or characters from City of Girls or some shit on a video, and he hasn't even read it yet, but like the way I was describing, it was either characters or like the vibe, something. He was like, and I knew that this was one of his favorite series, and he was like, oh my God, Shauna, if these are the things you like about City of Girls, you gotta read The Diviners, though. I mean, you got me intrigued now saying that. No one has ever said that before. No one has ever like made that connection for me before. Now I'm very intrigued. So I figured I would pick it up this, you know, Halloween fall time season, and freaking so much fun. Definitely has scary moments, like ritualistic serial killer, you know, stuff like that, occult, creepy, dark, genuinely a little scary in one part. I've heard the audiobook is very, very creepy. I'm like, nope, not me. I'm not gonna listen to that by any means. But yeah, it's like 1920s Prohibition era Manhattan, and we have some occult things going on, and we have people with powers, people with supernatural abilities, it would seem. Ow, oh my God, sorry. I hit my finger on my car door earlier, and oh my God, it's like a nerve got like blown out, or a blood vessel popped or something. Fuck, oh, that just hurt real bad. Gonna try not to cry. Anyway, yeah, I fucking blew through this too. How quickly did I read this? 4 days. 4 days to read like 500 pages, which is blowing through a book for me personally. And yeah, Evie, the main character, one of the main characters, I love her. She's very selfish, quite a bit, but she is just so fucking fun and funny. And like Theta, I love Theta, and Henry, even Sam Lloyd, I even liked him. The mystery, it was a page turner. Like, I did not want to put this down. I really, really enjoyed it. I ended up giving it 4.5, but like, I'm kind of leaning toward 4.75. I don't know. I'll probably leave it at 4.5 for now. It wasn't quite 5 stars, like 5 stars, but that's the thing is like, it's like almost. So that's why I kind of want to go with 4.75. But 5 for me is like, I need to scream from the rooftops about this. And like, I loved so much about it, but it didn't quite have that thing that's just like, oh my God, it's the best thing I've ever read. You know, it was just kind of like, yeah, it was really great. So I don't know. I still haven't decided. Probably 4.75. So it was like almost, you know. Anyway, definitely would recommend. And there we are. That's that. I did kind of talk for fucking ever. So sorry. But I wanted to get these out of the way. Let me know if you have read any of these and what your thoughts are. Are you surprised by any of these that I didn't love as much, or that I did love, or that I DNF'd? Are you surprised that I would feel how I felt about them? Are you intrigued by any of these if you haven't read them? As always, thank you so much for your time. Hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.